there was one episode where Liam was wearing a cowboy hat.
Okay.
He just thought it was funny to wear a cowboy hat.
I was saying he's eccentric.
And then someone put in the comments like, "What is this? The Brokeback Mountain podcast?" And I was like, "What the fuck kind of insult is that?" You're like, "Oh, this guy's wearing a cowboy hat. Let me call them gay."
Right. Yeah. 2001 called The South Tower Just Fell.
So that made me laugh so hard when I saw that, because I was just like,
it's not that original, but I mean,
it's just funny that
you don't get shit like that often. I'm sure
he's just like, "Oh, I'm going to call these guys gay because this guy's wearing a cowboy hat." It's just like,
which is the clear indicator.
Yeah.
But then when you go to like Texas,
you don't want to say that there.
Right.
All right.
I love it.
Mr. Brad.
Mr. Joseph.
How's it going?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. We just did an introduction like 30 minutes ago. So
we did, but it's nice to refamiliarize.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to check up on someone. When you're hanging out with someone, halfway through the hangout, you should just be like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Right. Sometimes you'll hang out with someone and then you'll be halfway through it and be like, "Oh, I don't know their name."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or remember their name more. So hopefully you knew their name at some point. If not, you're in trouble.
Or sometimes you're making a Star Wars movie and then halfway through it, they're like, "No, you're not."
That's also a thing that happens.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about Star Wars movies that aren't actually movies. They never became movies.
It's one of the great American tragedies.
Yeah. Brad, I know you're a Star Wars fan. We've talked about Star Wars for a very long time. We did 3 podcasts dedicated to talking about the prequels.
At the very least, on and off camera, we've probably clocked about 2 hours.
Probably. Maybe a bit more than that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's texting and whatnot, so yeah, probably.
Yeah. We do some Star Wars talking, because, I think you're the first person, you might not feel the same way, but you might be the first person I've met in my life who matches, like, my level of Star Wars.
Oh, what an honor.
Yeah.
That's great, because I know people who are very hardcore.
Okay.
My roommate has read, like, every novelization like ever, and not just
what the fuck,
that's not just like of the movies, like he's read like every Star Wars book that exists.
Okay.
So it's like stuff that was canon and is no longer canon, stuff that is canon. He
like memorized pages of Wikipedia.
I don't know if we're going that much. He has other interests, thankfully.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I know you're a big Star Wars fan, but you're not a massive Star Wars fan, right?
I mean, I would say I'm fairly mad. It's probably my favorite franchise.
Okay.
But
you're not a crazy person though, right?
I'm not a crazy. If you came up to my face and said I fucking hate Star Wars, I'm genuinely not gonna care. It's like there are things I don't like, but I don't need to address it.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not married to it, so.
Because when I was a kid, Star Wars was the most important thing to me.
Yes, me as well.
Where it was just like, this thing is so incredible, and they have sticks that are fire, and they hit each other with them, and they have guns and cool helmets, and it's everything you want as a kid.
And then Muppets.
Yeah. And then everybody else moves on to sports, and you're like, what are you guys watching these guys hit each other? Yeah. Like, look at this shit. What the fuck, you guys?
That's exactly me. I remember in 6th grade, it was 8th grade. Oh, no, 6th grade. Whenever Revenge of the Sith came out, I had a Darth Vader folder that I hid from everybody because I didn't want anyone to see it and be like, you like Star Wars? Yeah. You're a nerd. And it's like, I'm 12.
Yeah. You're like, how the fuck are you guys not into this shit anymore? Like, this is the...
Right. What the hell? Wait, you think you're cooler than me because you started jerking off? Wow.
Yeah. Weirdos.
Yeah.
You can jerk off to Star Wars.
You can. Yeah. There are
people who do that.
There's at least Slave Leia, so there's that.
There's the Green Lady.
There's the Green Lady.
I don't remember her name.
I don't either. I like I said, we're not hitting Wikipedia as hard as others.
So Brad, are you aware of any canceled Star Wars movies?
I've heard some about the recent ones that keep getting moved back and forth.
Star Wars has had more canceled movies than made movies at this point. Like, everybody gets a Star Wars, and then everybody gets that Star Wars taken away. Mm-hmm. Starting with the man himself, Mr. George. Is George short for something? Mr. George Lucas.
I was gonna say, I don't think so.
He was for a long time. He was saying Star Wars is a 3-part series.
Period.
The Father, the Son, and the daughter, and that was his vision of Star Wars. So obviously he was going to make a sequel trilogy that focused on Leia, and it was going to be Luke trying to rebuild the Jedi Council, whatever councilship. The Jedi Order. Yeah, I think that. Yeah. And then Leia's rebuilding, the politics, the
New Republic.
The New Republic, yeah.
Keep up, Joseph.
Okay. Oh shit. But there's still some stormtroopers hanging out, and they're like, they're wearing the helmets and whatnot.
Yeah, they're still loyal.
Yeah. Do you know who George wanted the villain of this series to be?
I believe, was it Darth Maul?
It was Darth Maul, yeah.
Yes, that would have been incredible.
Yeah. And there was precedent for this to happen. I know he wanted this before the Clone Wars happened, so that might have been something that they took from his ideas, was to bring back Darth Maul. But if you would have told me after when I was a kid, after I saw Darth Maul die, he was going to be the main villain, I would have been like, it would have been a good surprise, a good twist or whatever.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know, he was such an iconic villain who got very little screen time, died almost immediately, but he looked cool, and he just had something about him that was
George Lucas, when they were trying to design him, was like, I want something that's pretty much nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
And the one they landed on is not the first draft. There are much scarier designs out there for Darth Maul. But for somebody like that to go just by being simply split in half is...
Yeah, I was like, I wanted more of Darth Maul, but also I was like, I didn't think there could be more of Darth Maul.
Right, because how do you come back from that?
Yeah. Do they explain? I never watched the Clone Wars. Do they explain how he survived?
Oh, they do. So he survived. He survived his very long fall. He ended up on some other planet, I believe, or he may have remained on the same planet. It's been so long since I watched the Clone Wars. But basically, he ends up either building his own spider legs, or somebody built the spider legs for him.
Yeah.
And so he was living with those legs pretty much as I don't know if there's homeless people in Star Wars, but pretty much just living off the land.
There was a homeless clone trooper in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's true, yes. But he's living off the land, pretty much an animal. Yeah. And he's his horns are really grown out, which is a wild look. He's not all there upstairs. He's saying Kenobi a few times, and it's he's got a vendetta, he's got an obsession, clearly not well. So whoever stumbles upon him years later in the Clone Wars, they kind of take him in, clean him up, fix him, give him
robot legs.
Yeah, his legs were still robot. I believe they're the same parts of the spider legs he had originally. I think they just kind of trimmed him down into two more upright legs.
Light went out. And he has a brother, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yes. Yeah. His brother, I believe, is the one who discovers him and is like, oh shit, I gotta get you out of here.
Yeah.
And then they team up together, and I believe for at least one season they are the big bad of the Clone Wars.
But yeah, and so he was gonna have his own sidekick. I don't remember her name, but
girl Sith, I love it.
She is a character who I think has since been integrated into the Star Wars universe, but I don't remember her name. Fuck, Brad, this is so unprofessional of us. But yeah, no, so yeah, this George Lucas, before the sequels came out, would you have preferred a George Lucas sequel or a Disney sequel?
Oh, that's tough, because I guess I don't really know what a Disney sequel would have looked like.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on the prequels you did. And so to me, it's if they would have looked more like the prequels, I guess I probably would have preferred that, but I don't know if that's what the rest of the world would have wanted, because they were very vocal about how much they did not like George Lucas's solo work. Yeah,
I thought for sure there's not going to be another Star Wars movie, and so when the rights were sold to Disney, I was like, oh, this can actually be a thing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that I was like, when I found out Disney was making a sequel trilogy, I was like, fuck yeah, because I just thought George Lucas, I think he had said I want to just live my life. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right, yeah. Like, I want to move on from this.
Yeah.
Or at the very
Which
least,
really sucks.
not be my responsibility.
Because I'm sure that... I don't know if he's watched any of the movies. He must have, right?
I don't see why he wouldn't have at this point.
Yeah.
Especially with all of his, like, consulting that he's been doing with other projects since Disney took over.
But I would be so, like, upset if this was my creation and just... I know, like, oh, Disney's, like, woke or whatever, but it's just, like, it's not just that. It's just they don't understand Star Wars. They want it to be just... I don't know. I don't even know how to, like, vocalize it. I know this sounds, like, so, like, pathetic, me, like, whining about Star Wars, but it's just frustrating watching, like, what Disney, like, thinks they're doing for the good of Star Wars, but... Oh, I know it's a kid's movie or whatever, but it's like no one's enjoying it.
Yeah. You're speaking about the sequel movies?
The sequel
or just
movies,
like everything
just
in general?
everything in general. It's just like they keep just everything they're doing to me is just like the wrong idea of what Star Wars is.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard similar arguments, so it's valid for sure.
Are you a fan of like the Disney stuff or?
I mean, I wasn't offended by it. Yeah. Like I said, I've told you before, I'm a pretty content person when it comes to movies. It takes a lot for me to be upset. But I will say I've noticed Disney's taken liberties that were unnecessary. They've made choices that were also very questionable. Yeah. And they're probably going to continue to do that because they're a media powerhouse.
More lights keep going out. Okay. I'm going to fix the lights. All right, lights are back on.
Yeah. But yeah, for Disney, for me, I'm just happy that I got to see Star Wars stuff, period. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like you said earlier, I never thought I was going to see more Star Wars because those prequel movies just overall did not succeed. Our generation loved them, and now like the actors who participate in it are aware of that, and that's great. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if George Lucas I don't know if he would have. He probably would have done better. Yeah. But I don't know if it would have been as successful.
Probably not, but it's like
a double-edged sword, really.
When you think about Star Wars as a whole, it's like the idea of it came from this one person. Mm-hmm. And now just the idea that it's a multi-series, multi-franchise, and there's this show and these characters, and there's so much going. Like the universe has expanded so much beyond what George Lucas initially had. It was just a story of like a boy and his father,
right?
And then their characters interacting with them and whatnot. But like that, it was just that story, and then now it's just Mandalorian and Wookiees and fucking like everything. There's like just so much going on, and it's like we need to get back to basics.
Gotcha. Okay, I see your point now. It's just it's kind of lost its focus. Yeah, really. It used to be so much more. With it being the focus originally of like just a farm boy from nowhere, it's more obtainable. Yeah, like you can kind of see yourself on screen in a way. Depending on if kind of person you are. Whereas I don't see myself as a bounty hunting, armor wearing father of one.
I guess I don't know. Not necessarily that you can't see yourself as it, but it's just more like
there's more like soul to the original idea.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's a singular story. It's not like
it's not part of a greater.
I'm going to cut all of this out because none of this makes any sense.
I'm trying to understand, Joseph. I promise.
Okay, so Disney takes over Star Wars. So this is where most of the major cancellations happen. I think George Lucas had some other ideas of stuff he wanted to do that he never actualized.
Yeah, he gave them a draft of his like sequel idea. They were like, no.
I think he wanted to do like a Wookiee focused thing too, and like a droid focused. I think that was his other two things. Was like he wanted to have a Wookiee focused movie and a droid focused movie.
See, that's hilarious because that to me sounds more like something Disney would have tried to. I'm surprised Disney hasn't pursued that already. Yeah, but thinking about it now in the like 80s and 90s, he also released a bunch of like home video cartoons of like droid adventures and Ewok adventures.
That's right.
I think there was live action Ewok adventures too, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
So thinking about it now, it's like, okay, any of them could really do that. But
yeah,
the idea that Disney has not pursued that already is pretty interesting.
Yeah, because I think they're more tied to the story that they're trying to tell than like, you know. I guess that's what I was getting at with the George Lucas thing, was that it's no longer his story. It's its own thing now.
Yeah,
it's bigger than just a story about a boy. It's now a product.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
So there is an original version of episode 9 with the controversial version. This was going to be directed by, was it Colin Trevorrow?
Trevor Noah? Trevor Noah.
It was going to be directed by Trevor Noah. And I think he had a big flop. I think that was what it was. And Disney got scared, and so they canned him.
That sounds right. I'm honestly not familiar with his previous work, but I know he was like...
He made a movie called like Book of Henry or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it was a big flop, and everybody hated it. And I think that's what pushed Disney to be like, maybe not.
It could be. I think I've watched Book of Henry because one of the kids from It was in it, and I was like, oh, fun. And I was watching it, and I was like, no fun.
Okay. Yeah, I had no interest in seeing it
at some point, so I was like, what the fuck?
I had no interest in seeing it, and then when I heard about like it did so bad that he got fired from Star Wars, I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to see it now. I don't think a lot of is known of the original. I don't know. You might have a better idea of it than I do.
I have a pretty decent memory of it because I think I thumbed through the actual script at one point.
Okay.
Because I believe it was fully online, or at least like the major parts of it were.
Okay.
There was going to be all kinds of random stuff. Not random, like it was, it's poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah.
But it would have been very different from what we got with The Rise of Skywalker. We would have seen a lot more familiar planets.
Okay.
Like we would have gone back to Coruscant. We have, thanks to shows like Mandalorian and stuff, which is great, but to see it on a bigger screen would have probably been a pretty cool thing. Kylo and Rey were going to have, like, I think the amount of fighting was still going to be about the same compared to the final product, but there was going to be a point where Kylo Ren like blinded Rey with his lightsaber.
Okay. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I do think I remember hearing some or seeing like a video maybe with some of this stuff in it.
Yeah, I've watched a few videos. Like I've probably watched a few dozen videos, probably just explaining like what was going to happen in it, what happened in it, that happened in Rise of Skywalker and whatnot.
Wasn't it like it wasn't Sidious who was behind it, but it was like a big like toad monster or something.
There was something wild like that. Yeah, I believe,
and he was the master to Palpatine.
Yes.
He was no, that was Darth Plagueis.
Plagueis.
I think like the villain was going to be like the master to Darth Plagueis or something like that.
That's I'm pretty sure what was going to happen. Yeah, there was going to be some wild big bad. It was going to be like it's like the end of like it, just kind of like what the fuck? That's the problem. What else is going to happen? Do you recall the title of the film? It was called Duel of the Fates.
That's right, yeah, Duel of the Fates.
Which I think would have been kind of a badass name, but it's also like kind of on the nose because it's the name of probably one of the best songs from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Shit, what else happened in it?
I know, wasn't there going to be like a dark Rey in it? Or like Rey was going to like have potential to be dark or something?
I think Rey was going to teeter, like kind of either walk the line or she was going to kind of dabble.
Okay, yeah.
Just to be like, what is this about? So I have a better understanding of it, since literally no one else can tell me at this point. Yeah. I remember in the script that pretty much Hux's story was pretty much going to stay the same.
Okay. Doesn't he kill himself at the end of it?
Yes, he fully seppukus.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not familiar with seppuku, it's like a Japanese like sacrifice where you draw like a triangle or something. Doesn't
yourself. He like take Darth Vader's lightsaber and like?
It's either a lightsaber or it's like an actual knife.
Okay.
Because they did bring those in too in the last minute, or dagger or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember like seeing the first like trailer of the first one, Force Awakens, and just being like all these characters that I've never seen before, and just like, and then just like, all the like the little leaks that got out, and I was just being so excited. I remember I was so excited about the Knights of Ren, I just thought that sounded like so cool, and then like there's just nothing with that.
Yeah, I believe they were going to have more of a story in Duel of Fates as well, because we got so blue-balled on them.
Yeah, and then this is like J.J. Abrams' famous thing is like the mystery boxes, where he's like, we set up a mystery and then we solve it later. But yeah, just nothing got solved, or what did get solved just wasn't satisfying enough to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. They it was a really rough landing with that last trilogy, but overall they didn't do their best, let's be honest.
No, and I think even J.J. Abrams came out and said like, yeah, we really should have tried harder for the Star Wars movies. Done
great. Yeah. Accountability. We love to see it.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'd rather hear that than him like double down and be like, or him be like, one of my cast members was dead and I had to work around old footage. What y'all? Let's see you do it. Because that's probably the route I would take.
Yeah.
And us creatives.
What they should have done is came up with a 3-part story instead of saying, okay, J.J. Abrams, you direct one movie. And then Rian Johnson, you direct one movie, and then Colin Trevorrow, you direct one movie,
100%,
and then just fill in each other's blanks.
Right,
and then,
exactly. It's so messy on Arrival.
And I think we've talked about this before. I did like the second one because I liked how it subverted everything, and it was just like, oh, none of this matters. Like Snoke died, all this, fuck you, and I know that's what a lot of people didn't like about it, but I was just like, oh, this is interesting. But then all that stuff, they're just like, actually all that stuff, never mind, we're going back to what we initially planned.
I found that more, lack of a better term, offensive than Rian Johnson just kind of like throwing the lightsaber, killing Snoke, killing off Gwendolyn Christie's character, Captain Phasma, which another character went out, like, should have had a better ending. They should have maybe given all 3 to JJ. I feel like at the very least it would have been in better hands overall. Like I really liked Last Jedi. One of the reasons I liked it is because it was so divisive. It just took everything, like you just said. It just kind of took everything, said fuck you, we can do. It's a whole universe. He can kind of he just made it his own sandbox. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, definitely. And then, speaking of Rian Johnson, he's got this trilogy that we keep hearing about, this Rian Johnson trilogy, and maybe he was fired, but maybe he's still doing it. Anytime they ask him about it, he's just like, oh,
he just pivots to Knives Out. He's like, oh, I'm working on these movies.
I think he's over it. Like, I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree with you. I haven't thought about it, honestly, since you just brought it up, but I would totally
Do we know anything about it? Do we know, like...
Last I heard, it's still like on the table for him. He was just, like I just said, he's just focusing on the Knives Out movies. But the thing is, how many Knives Out movies are you gonna make, Ryan? Did you want to make 3? Did you want to make 8? So it's like, okay, if assuming the offer is still on the table, it could be 5 years, it could be 20 years. That's what I'm assuming.
But do we know like what it would be about, or no?
Oh no, not at all.
Okay.
To my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about that. I heard Taika Waititi's is gonna be.
He's also apparently doing a trilogy. Is it a movie or a trilogy?
I heard a one movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think after the Thor movies, Disney would be pretty ballsy to give him a whole trilogy. The first one he did was great. Love and Thunder, the other one.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok was a wonderful time. Love and Thunder was exhausting. But so his is going to be way more one-off, like kind of. I think it's going to be just like a fun story. Like I don't know.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Taika Waititi's?
At this rate, I don't think it's going to happen.
We're like 2 months deep into the writer's strike. I'm not convinced. I'm not getting attached to anything. Like. The thing I'm waiting for right now is Beetlejuice 2, and they're still shooting it. But with the writer's strike being a thing, that means there's no writers on set to make adjustments to the script. Therefore, it may not be the best result possible.
You definitely can't trust a studio script.
Right. And same thing with, I know like American Horror Story is shooting, but that's gone so south. What else is affecting the writer's strike? Or is the writer's strike affecting, rather? Oh, Deadpool 3.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan Reynolds can't like improvise or something.
No, he has to stick to the script, I believe.
Yeah.
I hope they found a way around that, just because I feel like I'm pro improv in movies.
Right.
Not like I don't think they should be improv heavy necessarily, but I don't see why the actors can't play for a little bit.
So this one sort of happened. There were. I believe Josh Trank initially was going to do a Boba Fett movie.
Oh, yes.
And after Fantastic Four flopped, everybody hated it. He got cut from that. They were going to give it to James Mangold, who did Logan, and he did the recent Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, that's right.
And then I think once they realized they had something with the Mandalorian, they were like, all right, let's just do this.
Yeah, we need to let's just pivot, or not pivot, but let's work this into this instead.
Yeah. I didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, but I was also just kind of like, I would have liked to have seen a Boba Fett movie of like him doing an adventure, and that doesn't seem like what they did with the show. So I think that's why I wasn't too into it.
Yeah, it was just fine, honestly. Yeah. I guess the finale was kind of cool because in the end he rides a giant Rancor, and like that's fucking absurd.
Yeah.
I was stoked for the actor who plays him,
Temuera Morrison.
Yes, I was like, okay, yeah, good for you getting work, continuing this character / characters. Like that's awesome.
Right.
But overall, I was like, it could have been a movie.
Yeah. No, but like I would have liked to have seen like a Boba Fett like pre Return of the Jedi like movie.
That's the point I was trying to get to, and then I did my thing. I fell off I side tangent myself. A Boba Fett movie where he's like in his prime, I think is what's more in demand. Yeah, like that would be way more appealing for people. And I think that's what they were hoping to get when Disney first announced, like, oh, we're gonna do a Boba Fett movie. Yeah, not to see him in, lack of a better term, present day, right, in his 50s. Yeah. Wearing big pants. Wearing big old pants, looking a little swollen in his armor. It was really cool. My favorite part of that entire series, though, was actually seeing him crawl out of the Sarlacc pit, because that's the
that was like the thing everybody wanted.
That's
like,
exactly it. That's the one thing everybody wanted to see on screen, is like let's see how he survived. Everything else is just going to be, whatever they come up with.
And I know people were excited about Cod Bane. I think that was like a big.
That was cool. Yeah. That was very cool. I did not expect that at all. Yeah. Some people were bitching about like, oh, it doesn't look like the cartoon, but I think that's the most ridiculous argument on the planet. It was so much fun seeing Clone Wars people, like not human people, like alien people, just in flesh and blood. Yeah, wild.
We can end on this one because we've been going for a while now, and but this is like kind of the main one right now. Is the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie?
Ah, yes.
And they did like a whole trailer for it where there was like Patty Jenkins like riding in an X-wing or something, and she was
at like an airfield or something
like that. And she was like, "This is going to be the best World War II movie ever made." And my father was a pilot, so I'm making this movie for him. And they made it was a whole big deal, and everyone's like so excited about this Rogue Squadron movie. And then it could still be made, maybe, but it's not going to. It's not going to happen.
It's not likely. We saw Wonder Woman 1984.
I didn't.
You didn't see 84.
No.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I'm being nice. I didn't find it offensive. I like it. For me, it's like, oh, it's a flashy movie that takes place in the 80s. I'm sold. Right. But for other people, it was like, oh, no, this is like a really bad superhero movie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see like just a Star Wars, just like Rebel story, pilot story, but that doesn't seem to be what they want right now. And with Patty Jenkins, I know they sort of have a soured feeling on her, so that's probably why it's happening. But,
I guarantee that's the reason.
Just either let a movie happen, or everybody says it's Kathleen Kennedy's fault. That's what they keep saying. I don't know if that's true, because she could be like the force behind why everything's failing, but it could just be Disney as a whole. Just like, it's not a good idea. Like, Star Wars doesn't have to be so many things. Star Wars can just be, you know, Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never. I thought people who specifically blame one person for anything to this size is insane. If this were something that like Kathleen Kennedy were financing, directing, producing, writing, absolutely put the blame on them. But they're just there's somebody in their field who is successful who got the job.
Yeah. And because like people still like stuff from the new Star Wars. Right. So it's like, well, you have to give her credit for that too. Mm-hmm. It's not like she's only in charge of the bad stuff.
Right.
Unless someone like comes with proof of like, oh no, she only produces things that suck.
Yeah, she specifically signed off on Book of Boba Fett, fucking Bad Batch, the last season of Mandalorian, which I didn't hate, but a lot of people thought it was boring.
Yeah. So if you show me that proof, then fuck Kathleen Kennedy. But if not,
right. Until then,
she's fine.
Yeah,
she's just whatever.
No,
fire her or don't. I don't care.
I don't see that happening for her. I feel like
she worked at Lucasfilm before Disney, right?
I believe that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew. I've been hearing about her for a long time, and so I was like, when people are saying that Kathleen Kennedy and Disney are ruining Star Wars, I'm like, well, she's been a part of Star Wars for like my entire life, practically.
That's pretty much it. And plus, if you, as an adult at least, and plus as I kind of grow as a film admirer, I tend to pay attention to like credits more.
Yeah.
And you'll figure out that Kathleen Kennedy produced this movie. I like.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of any at the moment, but I've definitely watched movies where I was like, that Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
So good for her or bad for her. We have no opinions on her.
No, really. But if Obi-Wan Kenobi was her doing, I want to thank her personally because that was special for me. I loved seeing you in Magogo.
Look at that. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.